and welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Peter Winnick. I'm the founder and CEO of Thought Leadership Leverage. And today we've got a really interesting guest. We've got Gene Rice. Gene has worn multiple hats over his career. He has been the founder and CEO of Rice Cohen, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And he just wrote a book with his daughter, which is really interesting, called Grad to Grown Up. So I want to start, Gene, with talk about your quote professional career. Not that a book is unprofessional, but I've known you for a long time as Gene of Rice Cohen.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us a little bit about what Rice Cohen does. And I think it's relevant to the audience in terms of, this learning and development space, this training and development space, this professional services space.
Yeah. I've been blessed, Peter. I've been in the executive search industry now over 30 years. And, we grew to be one of the 30 largest search firms in America. But the way executive search works is you specialize in vertical markets. So my particular search firm became, now I'm told, the largest search firm that works in what we call the corporate L&D industry, as well as the ed tech and the management consulting industry. So I've been blessed to put in over 1,000 senior positions, multiple C-level positions, but an awful lot of the senior partners at the big consulting firms. So we did the senior partners at McKinsey, at KPMG. We put the CEO into Mercer. And then worked a lot with the corporate L&D space over the years.
So on the corporate L&D space, because you've got a really interesting view based on where you sit.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit, and I think ed tech is part of the answer here, but what are some of the big differences in what an organization is looking for in a senior level L&D person today versus even 15 years ago, whether their level of tech savvy, the ability to measure efficacy, like give me sort of hey, 15 years ago, this would have been a rock star, and today that wouldn't even get him in the door.
Yeah, I think right now, what's really critical is that senior level executive has to come in and they have to have a documented track record, right, of building growth, right? And growth not only from a profit point of view, from a people point of view. And one of the things in the book, Peter, that I write about is in placing all of these senior level executives, right? So many of them, the ones that are the most valuable, and these are not just these are 7-figure individuals. The ones that are the most valuable to their shareholders, to their teams, to their board, are the ones that not only, right, have great professional success, but they've had personal success and they find purpose in their life, right? And that's one of the things that's sad. The Conference Board came out with a survey recently. There was 2,000 executives they interviewed. 52% of them had no job satisfaction on what they did. So they woke up in the morning, Peter, and they went to work for a paycheck, right? To me, one of the messages I want to send is I want everyone to find purpose. And to answer your original questions, the ones that are most valuable are the ones that come in and not only can they motivate a group, not only do they have the numbers piece of it down, right? But they have purpose in their life. They're waking up.
So how do you signal that? So if I'm a senior exec and I'm accomplished and I've hit budget, hit target, growth, all those things, right? It's easy for me to put that together in a CV. Grew revenues 20%, beat quota by, led a team of, implemented this. I think it's unusual, and maybe I'm wrong, where in that document somewhere it says, and I found my purpose, or how do you even signal that?
Well, let me tell you, this is something that Rice Cohen has done differently, and it's funny because I'm going to share some things with you. When we interview an executive, right, it's all retained search. So we're calling them about a certain, senior level position that we have all the specs that we put together.
Yep.
When I'm interviewing them, even before I talk to them, Peter, about my client, I'm asking questions like this, right? Peter, tell me in your professional career, when have you been the happiest professionally and what was going on that made you feel that way? Okay. Second question, Peter, what do you like best about your current role? Okay. What gets you up in the morning? Right? Peter, if you became the chairman tomorrow, what would you change about the company, your role, and what the firm does? I want to see if there's any pain anywhere. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to ask a question like this, Peter. If I gave you a magic wand and I said to you, you can diagram the ideal next position for Peter, tell me the company you would create, the role you would create, the culture you would create. Okay. And what are some of those questions? And those are just early on questions, Peter, but it's getting to, do they have purpose in their life? What gives them happiness? When have they been happy, right? What are the things that they've done in the past that have made them the happiest?
So what are the things, give me an example, Gene, of specifically, because you have so much exposure in the space, in the learning and development space. What are some of the answers, that authentic answers, not somebody trying to snow an interview, right? But what are some of the real responses that you've gotten that get you to light up and go, wow, that guy's found their purpose, and the purpose is aligned to the objective? Because there's a lot of confusion around purpose where, okay, if your purpose doesn't align to what this objective and this role and this job is, it might be a distraction, a detraction or a deterrent.
Yeah. Well, some of the answers is, I was happiest when I was with a company that really believed and walked the talk about their developing their people and making their people better professionally. I was with a company that really believed in cutting edge. We had to stay ahead of it. We were always staying ahead of it, producing new offerings. What did our clients need? What was the marketplace calling for? Right? I was with a company that allowed me to make business decisions to drive the top line and the bottom line, right? I was with a company that allowed me to bring talent into the firm, right? It's those types of things. I was with a company that the kind of work that we did with our clients, it consisted of this, and I got real passionate about the kind of work that we were doing on a day-to-day basis. It's answers like that, Peter, and that's got to match up to what our client's looking for, because if it doesn't match up to what the client can offer, right, then we're going to say to the executive, listen, you got a great background. This one is not right. Here's why.
Culturally
culturally.
Or we're
going to keep you in mind in the future if something else comes along,
Got it.
And Peter, I'll share something else with you. In 30 years in search and filling myself over 1,000 placements in my company, doing tens of thousands, there's three things that I've identified, Peter, that make for a good match between an executive and a company, short-term and long-term. The first thing is they should feel that by joining this firm, I can really make a contribution. I can add value in this way.
Right.
But I don't care how senior you are. If you're going to join a new firm, you should be able to look yourself in the mirror a year down the road and say, you know what? As a result of joining XYZ company in this position, I've grown professionally in these ways. Okay.
Right.
And then here's the third thing that a lot of senior people miss, but a lot of young adults really miss, Peter. Those first two things can be there. But if the third's not there, it is not going to be a good fit, and someone's going to be unhappy very quickly. You should not only respect the senior people that you're touching shoulders with every day, especially the board or whoever you're reporting to directly. You should not only respect them, but you should like them enough that if you had to go out and break bread with them, it wouldn't be something you would dread doing. The people
you actually look forward to it, right?
Yeah, the people aspect is critical.
Yeah,
because if you don't like the people, especially the person or the board you're reporting to, you're not going to stay very long, no matter how much you're contributing and no matter how much you're growing.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. So I want to pivot now because this is the other side of the Gene coin now, is moving from search to. So you've got a book out, right, which is Grad to Grown Up. So that's interesting, right? So now you're going from the the king of executive search to an author, and you did it with your daughter, right? Like, so I don't know. I think there's one, Don Tapscott did a book with his son, but it's usually not a family business. So tell me about, how did that come to be? Is this like Thanksgiving and,
let me share with you.
What's the backstory here?
This book has been in my bucket list for a while. And it's based on every single summer for the last 25 plus years, Peter. I'd bring into my, firm 4 college interns for 8 weeks over the summer. And these 4 college interns that we hired, they went through a pretty intense interviewing process. They were interviewing against some other great candidates, right? So I felt by bringing them into
functions do they, what's the prototype of where do they come from? Are they marketing? Are they HR?
They're from all over.
All over. Okay.
We've had multiple lawyers, engineers, doctors, right?
Okay.
Yeah, they just wanted to do an executive search internship. And I can share with you how we set it up. But with them coming into my office, I felt I owed it to them to spend a couple of hours a week with Gene's life lesson. It started off, Peter, as things I wish I knew going into my senior year in college. And what came out of it was all these questions where I remember thinking, coming home and talking to my wife, how ill-prepared so many of these really bright young adults were, not only to start their professional careers, but their personal careers. And then as I
But when you say ill-prepared, I just want to push on that. I'm going to assume, although correct me if I'm wrong, that ill-prepared wasn't intellectually, academically, skill, whatever. It's
exceptional in that area.
Okay, yeah. So specifically, where are they ill-prepared? Life skills?
Well, let me share with you. Yeah. Let me share with you. You know, and this is what really pushed me to do the book. In the U.S. today, there is $1.6 trillion in college loan debt, Peter. $1.6 trillion. I'm not talking billions. Every one of these young adults had college loans. They could all tell me how much they borrowed. They could all tell me they knew they had to start paying it back 6 months after graduation.
Right.
None of them could tell me how much a month they're going to be paying and for how long. You know why? They don't figure it out until they take the last loan.
If you're enjoying this episode of Leveraging Thought Leadership, please make sure to subscribe. If you'd like to help spread the word about our podcast, please leave us a review and share it with your friends. We're available on Apple Podcast and on all major listening apps, as well as at thoughtleadershipleverage.com/podcasts.
So that's insane. That's like closing on a house on a mortgage, not knowing it's 30-year and your payments this and
every
whatever.
year it's adding up. It's adding up. Cash register. You know, there's $1 trillion worth of credit card debt. A lot of these college kids, freshman year, the first day they'd walk into their campus.
The credit card.
Credit card companies are handling them these things. You know, I would ask them, you know, do you have a rainy day fund? Yeah, I have a credit card. No, that's not a rainy day fund. You know?
Yeah.
You know, 36% of young adults still live at home with their parents, right?
Right.
37% of the American population, if they lost their job for 90 days, would be on the poverty line, right?
Right.
Divorce rates at 50%, and it's growing. Obesity's through the roof. So the whole idea of me writing this book is for me to, if I can help, it's 68 tips on how to create a professional and personal life that you can be proud of. It starts from life to job search to career to personal finance.
Okay, so a lot of this comes from your firsthand experience dealing with this generation over many years and saying, "Ooh, there's something missing here. It's not just this one cohort. So you extrapolated that there's a trend." Now, how do you get your daughter involved? Because
let me tell you my daughter.
That, yeah.
So listen, I had communicated all these tips. I had recorded them all. And anyone who knows me, Peter, I'm at best an average writer. My daughter is graduated from Lehigh with a double major in economics and English. She came out with at Lehigh, if you have a 3.75 GPA or higher, they'll pay for your master's. They paid for her master's degree. She's a phenomenal writer. She had her first child 2 weeks into COVID, the global pandemic. She wanted to take a year off. And I said, this is the opportunity. We're going to come together. We're going to collaborate. So every chapter is me writing about a tip and then her, which comes in with Courtney's comments, right? She gives me a hard time. She's keeping me honest. She's giving a different perspective from a high school English teacher perspective, from a young, married, new mother. So the thing comes together. And that's what made it great. Because, you know, one of the greatest things, you know, and I'll tell you, this is one of the things I found with these young interns. When you sat with them and you asked them, why are you going into law? Why are you becoming an accountant, right? Peter, if you have a conversation with them, somebody in their lives that was influential to them, a parent, a grandparent, a teacher, or a coach, pushed them in a certain direction, right? And said, you can make a good living doing this, right? And that's fine, except the thing that really surprised me is so many of them had absolutely no exposure to what that job meant until they showed up the first day, right?
Right. So this concept of a lawyer was an abstract concept mom told me to do it, or the pressure, or I had a great history teacher, or whatever, but they couldn't answer the question of what does a day in the life of a lawyer look like?
Well, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Two of the interns went to two of the best law schools in America. One went to NYU, one went to Boston College. They both graduated in the top 25% of their class. They both got hired in the big law firms. 2 years into it, they absolutely hated it, Peter. Hated it. Now, I'm not saying, some people love being a lawyer. Well, Courtney thought she wanted to be a lawyer. Now, me experiencing my interns, I said, Court, I'll tell you what, before you do that, let's see if we can find a small boutique law firm, and you'll say you're willing to come in and work for free this summer, so you can get some exposure to what being a lawyer is all about. And she found a small law firm, this small partner took her in, Peter, and he exposed her to every aspect of being a lawyer.
Right.
The administrative, the research. He took her into the courtroom 6 or 7 times. Well, when that summer was over, she said, Dad, I have no interest in being a lawyer. I said, thank God, because I would have had to chip in, No,
but that's so it was 2 months of her time, which is valuable, to potentially save, hundreds of thousands of dollars plus the emotional pain and suffering and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, Peter, and here's the thing. She went to this great university, Lehigh, where she thought her passion was always being a teacher, but she thought that would be under her. She wasn't reaching high enough. So she became a teacher. She loves it. And let me tell you something. I had an experience. I was moving her out. She worked in the New Jersey public school system, high school English teacher for 8 years, right? She loved the classroom. I happened to go into a Wawa with her in the town she taught in, and 4 of the kids worked.
Wait, time out for our listeners who are not in the New Jersey area. Wawa is New Jersey for 7-Eleven. Anyway.
Yes. Well, I saw how these 4 young students of hers reacted to her, right? And how much they loved seeing her when they were talking. I said, you're doing the right thing. But one of the best things that came out of the book, Peter, is this culture. She loved the classroom, but the administration in the district and her school, there was resignations left and right.
Right.
Everyone that was in that English department with her 8 years ago, no one was there.
High turnover. Yeah.
So the book encouraged her. At the end of writing the book, she said, one of the messages is go find purpose, go be happy. She took all the skills on how to interview, and she went and found this unbelievable school, a private school that embraces what she's about with an unbelievable culture. And she is so happy. So
that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome.
So in this book, you're going to see one of the things I really believe in, and this goes for senior people as well as young adults. This is what they're not teaching them on the campuses, Peter. You're a bright kid, and if you're one of those bright kids that have the initiative to go to your career center on campus, right? They're going to prepare you for an interview. But they're going to prepare you like every other university is preparing their students.
Exactly.
So you come out and you interview against 4 or 5 other students interviewing the exact same way. One of the skills I believe is one of the skills that we don't teach well enough. And this goes for senior executives because I've helped them with this. I believe everyone should become a grand master of interviewing, right?
Yep.
Why? Because if you're a grand master and you're interviewing for that job you really want, the grand master is the person who gets offered the job, and the grand master gets paid higher, right?
Exactly.
It's a skill that you have to learn. So the book walks them through step by step how you become a grand master or an Olympian interviewer or a Nobel Prize interviewer.
No, it's a great skill. So we've got like 2 minutes left here, Gene. So I want you to just sort of wrap up. You put a lot of effort into the book, right? You put a lot of work. You didn't phone this in. This is obviously a passion project for you. But what are your hopes, dreams, aspirations? So it's a year from now and the book crushed it. What does that mean?
What that means to me, let me give you 2 examples from the book that I got 2 emails in the last 2 weeks. The book came out a month ago, Peter, right? I got an email from a young lawyer in New York City 2 weeks ago. And he wrote me this email and he said, I just finished your book. And he goes, I worked a 14-hour day and I went into a restaurant by myself to have a bite to eat. In the book, there's a chapter, Peter, that says, talk to the oldest person in the room. And I think a lot of young adults don't understand how much value they can get out of that conversation. They don't know what questions to ask. So the tip is, here's the questions you ask. Don't be intimidated, right? So he goes, I finished eating dinner. I look up at the bar and there's this old man drinking a beer. So he says, I just read that chapter, talk to the oldest person in the room. So I'm going to give these questions a shot. So
Literally
he goes,
right then and there.
he goes, I walk up to the bar, I sit next to him, I start asking you questions. He goes, I want you to know 2.5 hours later, I left that bar. It was one of the best nights of my life. The gentleman was a retired senior writer from the Johnny Carson show. And what I heard that night, I had such an amazing, amazing night. And I never would have done it if I didn't read that chapter. So what I want to say to you, Peter, what I hope out of these 68 tips is if someone can get one or two things out of it. I got another email from a gentleman in Seattle, and he's been living with this woman. He says, I'm 36 years old, and I've been living with this woman, and she putting some pressure on me to make the commitment. And I read your book, and my greatest accomplishment in my life is not my business. It's not the book. It's my 38-year marriage to my wife, right?
Yeah.
And in that book, there's a tip, marry the right person. And what we went through to figure that out, the questions you have to ask. He says, so I read that chapter, and then I realized at the end, nope.
She ain't it.
I have to get out of this, right? Now, so I don't know if he made the right decision or not, but that's what I'm hoping.
Right, so the book might not be the perfect Valentine's Day gift.
But I will tell you, it's not just the interns. I don't know if I mentioned to you, my wife and I started in 2008, Peter, our own charity called the Plant a Seed, Inspire a Dream Foundation. And People Magazine did a full-page story on it. It takes children that have a passion, like my kids had a passion, right? But they're underserved youths. A lot of them are coming from single parents, and they don't have the financial resources to encourage the passion. The passion could be sports related. It could be karate. It could be dance. It could be cheerleading. It could be playing the guitar. We will step in and we will find them that sensei, that drum teacher, that, the singing teacher.
Yeah.
We put them together. We interview both sides. We check in with them every single month. We give them an annual scholarship, right? And I've talked to all of those. We interview them all. And my interns weren't prepared. These underserved youths are less prepared to start that next phase. So I felt this could help them. So every one of them, when they graduate out of the program, when they're 18, they're handed one of these books, and I spend time with them and I make myself available to them if they have any questions. And I want your audience to know that if they buy this book, it's a great graduation gift, right? So, it's a great graduation gift, but any financial rewards that come to me is being donated directly by the publisher right to the charity to help more kids. We've helped over 800 kids pursue their passions.
That's amazing. So I love your passion. I love the legacy here, and I love the blending of the professional expertise and sort of the things that came out of that you turned into a passion project. So I want to thank you for putting the hard work and effort that I know you did into this book. So thank you so much, Gene. Appreciate your time.
I really appreciate it, Peter. Thank you so much. All right.
To learn more about Thought Leadership Leverage, please visit our website at thoughtleadershipleverage.com. To reach me directly, feel free to email me at peter@thoughtleadershipleverage.com. And please subscribe to Leveraging Thought Leadership on iTunes or your favorite podcast app to get your weekly episode automatically.